Hi yogis, welcome to this approximately 30-minute yin practice. And I'm calling this practice yin for staying in. If you've never done yin yoga, it's a really great time to try it because we're at home, we don't need a lot of equipment. If you have a block or a bolster or a traditional yoga blanket, you can grab it. But the beautiful thing about yin yoga is you don't need fancy yoga clothes, you don't really need props. Grab some cushions, grab a blanket to have it nearby, but you can really do it with what you have, which is going to be easy for everyone to try it, especially if you're trying yin for the first time. So you'll notice there's no music for yin. This is just optional. For today, I'd love for you to do this practice in silence if you're feeling up for that. But there's also an option just to play some music in the background if you'd like to play some music that's uplifting or comforting or just enjoyable to exercise to. There's a beautiful Rumi quote. Rumi is a 13th century poet, and the quote is, "Listen to silence, it has much to say." So maybe you can kind of tune inward for this practice and enjoy some silence. So you'll see that I have my iPad here. This is for timing. And when we get into some of the asymmetrical poses that we do on two sides, I'll be timing them so that we're balanced and we come out of this balanced. And we're going to start our practice with the 4-part Taoist breath. So if you're comfortable coming into a kneeling position, you can do that. But this also works really well sitting cross-legged and supported in any way that is comfortable for you. So we'll find a shape where we're anchored to the floor with whatever part of our body is connected to the earth. We'll find a long spine. Draw the shoulders up and roll them down and back. So you want to imagine the crown of your head is just being gently tugged towards the ceiling to create some length in your spine. And then you can close down your eyes and just enjoy a few rounds of breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Maybe a sigh or a ha as you exhale. And release your arms to your sides. Inhale, reach the arms up. And as you exhale, tuck the chin, the hands come behind the neck, and then press the walls away from you, imaginary walls. Inhale, flip the palms, fingertips come towards the shoulders. Exhale, press forward, round out through the spine. Inhale, lift the palms, maybe even reach up for a gentle back bend. And exhale softly to the floor, child's pose. Next wave of breath, inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands behind the head and press imaginary walls away. Inhale, flip the palms, fingertips towards the shoulders. Exhale, pushing the hands forward, round the spine, tuck the chin. Flip the palms, inhale, reach up. And exhale, flow through a child's pose. Next new breath, one more time. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, reaching up, extend and lengthen. And exhale, settle here in child's pose just for a couple breaths. When you're ready, curl your way up to a comfortable seat. And we'll get started with some poses for the hips. I'll mirror you, right leg comes in front. If you're practicing on a mat, your right shin will be parallel to that front short edge of your mat, and your left shin will be parallel to the long edge of your mat. This is often called like a 90-90 position for the legs. Hands can just come beside, and we'll gently let that left hip start to settle towards the floor. So the spine is long, and you just want to find this external rotation in the right thigh and internal rotation in the left thigh. This is very balancing for the hips. So another breath here. And then start to walk your hands forward, any amount. So it might be comfortable to come right onto the elbows. You might want to keep the arms straight and just plant the hands so that your arms can act as brakes. Or maybe a hybrid between the two. So elbows might come onto a block or cushion. But you want to settle into the shape, finding about 60% sensation. We're going to be enjoying 3 minutes in each pose. And for the first 30 seconds or so, and that's just a range, you want to settle into the pose and find that Goldilocks position. So not too hot, not too cold, just right. Not too stiff, not too soft, just right. Find that spot for you. And once you've settled into that Goldilocks position, just notice the target area. Notice where you feel sensation. So for me, I'm feeling it in the right hip. There is a little bit of sensation in my left hip, that internal rotation of the left thigh. Just bringing up, I'm noticing a bit of stiffness there. And then you want to settle into stillness. The soundtrack here might just be the soft rhythm of your breath, in and out through the nose. So with Yin Yoga, it's important to know you're never stuck in a position that you've chosen. If you find that the sensation is a bit too much, you can back out of the pose a little bit. And if you find the sensation is not enough, you can come a little deeper. And if this is feeling okay for you, we have about a minute more here, but feel free to come out if 2 minutes in this pose is enough for today. So you want to start connecting back to your breath here. Maybe deepening your inhales and your exhales. And then one more breath in and out. And then very slowly make your way up. So we're going to go right from this shape into a second yin pose. And we'll actually be leaning over to the right side of the mat. So if you have a prop, a blanket, a block, this is a really nice time to grab it. So we'll rotate the torso to the right and then find some support. So maybe we're laying onto a pillow or a bolster. Maybe we just come onto the elbows here on a prop or on the floor. But you want to try out the pose, try a few different variations, and then find that Goldilocks position for you. Once you get settled, you'll notice the target area shifts a little bit here. So there's a sense of lengthening here in the side of your torso, the right side of your torso. The left side of your torso. And a muscle here that we're targeting, the quadratus lumborum, this can be really tight and pesky in a lot of us. It's connected to the thoracolumbar fascia, which is an area of tightness and a little bit of restriction. So you just want to feel some length there, feel some expansion there. It's totally okay in yin to let the head fall to the floor gently. And you want to be careful of extending the neck because there's blood vessels there that can become constricted, and sometimes we feel a little uneasy or even nauseous if we're lifting the head and decreasing space back there for those blood vessels. And then just see if you can find some stillness and some quiet. This might be the first time today you've had to just listen to your own thoughts or listen to your own body. And if you feel like you want to deepen or lessen the intensity, you can do that. You're not stuck in the pose you've chosen or the variation of the pose you've chosen. We're here for about a minute more if you're interested. You can start to make that connection with your breath again. Maybe deepening it. And just staying here for one more breath. And then inhaling to gently press your way up. And the transitions out of yin poses are very gentle, because there is this sense of fragility when we've been holding a pose for a long period of time. Hands can come back behind you here, just for a moment. We're not going to stay here long. And this might increase that internal rotation and sensation in that left thigh, rotating towards the floor. Let's take a breath here. And then we'll walk the spine tall and just stretch the legs out in front for a moment. So in this shape, you have an opportunity to experience what's called the rebound. And that's any physical, any energetic, any emotional response you might have to the yin poses that you are in. So just close your eyes and experience that, the rebound. It's often called the echo. And then we'll try those shapes on the other side. So just make your way up. And we'll switch out the legs. So if you're practicing on a mat, or maybe even you're just imagining a mat, that left shin is parallel to the front edge of your mat. And the right shin is parallel to the long edge of your mat. So the hips, the knees, the ankles are in this 90-90 shape. And you can just rest your hands on the left side of the leg and then on the right side of the leg. Just pause here for a minute and enjoy some balance for the hips. So again, external rotation of the left thigh bone in the hip socket, internal rotation of the right thigh bone in the hip socket. And this is just a really nice way to bring some balance to the hips and the rotators of the hips. Take a breath in and out. And then we'll start to come forward in 90-90. So you can keep your arms straight and let your hands act as brakes and your arms act as brakes. That might be a nice pose. You might want to bring the elbows to the floor, or find a hybrid variation where you use a blanket or a block or a cushion, whatever you have at home to settle into here. So just keeping in mind the first 30 seconds or so of your yin pose, you're just settling in, just finding that perfect position for you. And you're not at your edge, you're not at that maximum range at all, just about 60% of that to find your perfect yin pose. And then just notice, what's the target area? Where do you feel this sensation? For me, it's definitely in my left hip, left external rotators of the hip. I feel a little less in my right thigh as I did on the other side. So that's also interesting to notice. these differences we have between sides. And then settle in and stay a while. I'm rereading a famous yoga book right now. I've already read it twice, but I find each time I read it, I'm at a different place in my life, so it has a different impact. And this book is called Wherever You Go, There You Are. So it's this reminder that we really can't get away from ourselves, can we? So we might as well enjoy it. We might as well learn from it and really be in it, really dive in. You can feel free to drop the head, lengthen out the back of the neck. And at any time, just remind yourself, you're not stuck in the variation you've chosen. You can back out a little bit or even go a little bit deeper at any point. We're here for about another minute. If you feel like that's enough for you in this pose, just come out slowly. Yin is actually intensified with longer holds, not deeper variations of the poses. So if you're new to Yin Yoga, you can even try each one of these poses for 2 minutes instead of 3. So we'll just start to deepen the breath here. And with the deepening of the breath comes just a little bit of preparation for coming out. When you're ready, one more deep breath in and out. And then really slowly, you can make your way up to seated. And we'll be rotating the spine and turning towards the left side. I'm just going to scooch over a little bit so I stay within the frame here. So any support you might like, or you might just bring elbows onto the floor. We'll rotate through the spine and then settle into this little twist. So this is 90-90 with a twist. So try a few different variations. Don't feel like you're stuck in any particular one. And then notice, what's the target area? Where do you feel sensation here? And really what we're looking for here is something in the right side of the low back, getting into quadratus lumborum on this side. But you might also still feel some sensation in the hips, anywhere along the length of the spine. I know some of the yogis that come to my regular yin classes, they have a little more flexibility and they actually like to lay right down onto a prop. And that works nicely here too. Just reminding yourself at any time, you can deepen the pose or soften it. So this is still feeling good for you. We'll just stay here for about another minute. Again, you're encouraged to go a little deeper or even back out of the pose a little bit. I'm just going to do this with no props here. You can invite some softness into the neck. Gently letting the head soften to the floor. And if you've lost that connection to your breath, bring it back. Deepening it. And just stay here for one more breath in and out. And then very slowly, just honoring this sense of fragility in the body, make your way up. And we'll bring the hands out behind. So we're not staying here for a full 3 minutes. Just feeling that nice opening there in the front of the right hip for another breath. And then we'll make our way back up and stretch out the legs in front. So just enjoying here that rebound, that sense of an echo. There's a resonation after we've spent some time in yin poses. So just want to notice any physical, any energetic, any emotional responses to being in those long holds. And then you can open your eyes. Just bring the legs in and we'll move into one of my favorite yin poses, which is called dragon. And I really like knee support for this one. So if you have a blanket nearby, grab it. If you want to go get one, go ahead. It's a one-legged kneeling pose, so it's nice to have a little support for the knee. Okay, so we'll kneel in the blanket and step the right foot forward. And we're just finding a bend at the right knee, getting into a stretch in the front of the left hip. And the hands actually just come to the inside of the right foot and the right toes turn out. So take a moment here finding really nice version of this pose for you. And this is going to vary greatly for everybody. So I like to stay right here for this dragon variation, but some people find it quite comfortable to come right into elbows on a block or even elbows to the floor with no props. So you see which one feels good for you. I like having my arms acting as brakes and just fanning my hands open, kind of like butterfly wings. And then settle in and notice the target area for you. So quite often it's the front of the left hip for sure. We want to feel a softening there. This area fascially gets very tight, even thickened over time. So we want to soften up that shrink wrap at the front of the hips. But also you might feel some sensation in the right inner thigh, even the right groin. It's totally fine to keep the neck long and maybe look a few feet in front of you, but softening the neck and just letting the chin drop is also a really nice option. So you see what works for you. The intensity can build quite quickly here. So if you've chosen a variation that feels too intense now, just back off, back out a little bit, soften. And if you haven't already, yin is a great time to practice a really soft ujjayi breath. So constricting really gently the muscles at the back of the throat, you can create kind of an ocean sounding breath on your inhale and your exhale. The inhale sounds like an inner high tide, and the exhale sounds like an inner low tide, ocean breath. We have less than a minute left, about 45 seconds. So if you want to soften out of this and just find child's pose for a moment, that would work really well. Nice little break. Making that connection to the breath. We want to come out of this one really softly. So one more breath in and out here. And then inhale to lift the chest. We'll just walk the hands a little bit closer to the body. Slide the right knee back and soften into child's pose for a moment. If you have your bolster handy, softening into a bolster child's pose might be really nice too. Just pause to feel the rebound. One more breath. And then inhale to curl your way up. And let's do dragon pose on the other side. So knees are still supported by the blanket. Left foot steps forward. Just going to lunge into that left knee and bring hands to the inside of the left foot. Left toes can turn out, and you can even walk the left foot a little bit towards the left edge of your mat. And then find your 60% sensation in this pose. Feel free to adjust, find that Goldilocks version of the pose for you, that just right version of the pose. And then once you've settled in, just notice the target area for you. Definitely for me, deep into the front of the right hip, where fascia gets very tight and restricted in most of us, especially as we age. And a little sensation in the left thigh, left hamstring, left groin. If you need to soften, soften. If you can deepen, deepen. And then be here. So we're looking for stillness. You might notice there's an itch you can't scratch, or an agitation of the mind that wants to bring you out. Just notice those things. They're all part of mindfulness. And come back to stillness. We're here for about another minute. If you can bring your focus back to that ocean breath, you can do that now. Just constricting the muscles at the back of the throat. Sometimes this is called the Darth Vader breath. One more breath in and out here. And then you can lift the chest. Just start to walk the hands back very slowly, coming into child's pose. Staying here, feel free to grab a prop. So you might want to come into child's pose on a bolster. If child's pose doesn't feel nice for your knees, just keep your hips nice and high and come to more of a puppy shape, which would look like this. Just one more breath here, in and out in child's pose. And then curl your way up. And we're just going to do one more pose together. It's pose on our backs. So I'm going to turn so that you can see me. And if you have a block or like a really thick book or a yoga bolster or a thick sturdy kind of cushion, that'll be really nice for this pose as well. So I'll get some props to the side here. To get onto your back, just slide down onto your side and then roll onto your back. So you want to bend the knees and you want the heels to come pretty close to your sit bones, and arms are at your sides. Pause here just for a few breaths. Quite often when we get into this shape, there's a profound rebound effect from all of the yin postures that we've done so far. Just enjoy that here. And then opening up your eyes, we'll press into the feet and gently lift the hips. So this is when, if you have a yoga block, you can slip it underneath the pelvis. A bolster, really thick book like a dictionary. People have those at home right now. I'll use a yoga block. So just lifting the hips, lowest or highest height there. And you want to make sure no part of your low back is on the block. The block truly supports your sacrum and your pelvis. And then just resting here in supported bridge. This is a really great pose for lengthening out the lumbar spine. And it's a really great pose for ending our practice, for rounding out our practice. So let's just stay here for a few more breaths. Just one more breath in and out here. And then really gently inhale to lift your hips. You can slip whatever you had under there, if anything, over to the side. And slowly let the pelvis come back down. If it feels good for you, stretch out the legs. If that is sensitive on the low back, just widen the feet and let the knees drop in towards each other. This is Ardha Shavasana, or a constructive rest position. And you can spend as long as you like here. If you have an eye pillow or an eye mask, you can throw it on over your eyes. If you want to put on a great song, some really relaxing music, you can enjoy that here as well. And when you're ready to come out, but again, I highly recommend extending your Shavasana. When you're ready to come out, just gently roll onto your side. You can pause there. And then use your right hand to help you up. And we'll just come to a comfortable seat. So it might be cross-legged, it might be kneeling, more of a Seja style of sitting. And just resting your hands on your knees or thighs and closing down your eyes. A couple rounds of breath in and out. And then we'll leave the left hand where it is and just bring the right hand up into like a stop sign position. This is called Abhaya Mudra, and it's a mudra or a hand gesture of fearlessness and courage. Just breathe in the energy of that mudra a few times. And then you can bring hands together in front of the heart, bowing in. Let's take a moment here to honor the divine light in each other. Namaste.